All right, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So, as I was mentioning on the Facebook page thing, um, for this week's stream, I was thinking about making some cave walls, and along with that, I was also thinking about making the floor. So, let me show you what I have right now. Let me just pull up Cryengine here real quick. Let's see, where's my menu? So I can switch the layout. Da, da, da. Alright, so let's go to where that cave is. And I believe it's somewhere around here somewhere? I think so. Somewhere in between these kind of messy things that's going on. Oh, it's probably over here. I think. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so let me make it so that it's night out because it um, you get a better emphasis on it that way. And of course, eventually the cave is going to be inside of a viz area, and you know you won't be getting this kind of weird lighting that you get during the day. So let me actually first I want to see where the one of the lights is somewhere in here because we're gonna need that. I mean, I guess this one looks pretty good to get an idea of what's going on in the cave, but having the light on will definitely help. Um, so, um, so yeah, this is how it looks. You know, at night, it's you know, it's actually a little bit dark. So let me change this sun intensity a little bit. So, currently right now, if you see what I'm selecting, they're just a bunch of um, single section. Hey, Mark, what's up? So they're all the exact same shape, and kind of overlapping them and moving them around, makes it look a little bit more, a little individual type, I guess. So this is my current setup. The floor is actually, if you remember that the stream we did a few weeks ago where I made an alleyway, that's basically what it is. So let's just look at one of those individual elements a little bit more closer up. So there you go. So that's one of the cave wall sections. And as usual, it has just a detail map on it. And let's see, I can show you how that will look if you, bump up the values in it. And so right now it's, you can really, crank these values up. It's probably not looking as good. And right now it's a little bit too glossy. But this is what I really like detail maps because you get all this high polygon mesh detail in there. So what I was saying also is that the floor is um, one of those alleyways that we did a while back, and what I ended up doing for this is just use a couple of the materials from that actually come with the game SDK, and I think it turned out okay for like some muddy sections of the cave, but maybe not for the entire cave. So um, I'm thinking during today's stream I'll also do cave sections. So I've experimented with this a little bit, and the one thing that I haven't done is actually doing a lot of research on, or references. I got a few references, but not a lot as far as how caves look and the walls and all that. So I'll leave that up to you. I'll just show you what method I'm using to create all of this. So first thing, start off with your basic plane, and from the get-go, I am trying to, I guess, get the size of it to about the size that I want the cave wall to be, so then I don't have to make it bigger or larger. I mean, I can do it after that, but you don't want to, triple the size of this, because the texture is going to not look as good, and that textile density, I guess they call it, it's going to look a little weird, or you'll see that section is made a little bigger than the other one. So let's go ahead and I'll scale this, maybe, I don't know, right now it's 2 by 2, so if we want to make the walls maybe let's do it 3 times, so this way we can make up to 6 meters high walls. Alright, then just rotate around the x-axis like that. There we go. Okay, so this is the start of it. One thing that I do is I'm trying to make this wall just like the one that I have, and it's not completely finished, but the one that I have here also has a backside to it. Right now it looks terrible because I didn't do a proper unwrap, but you can figure out if you got the front side and then the back side. You can do some variations with that and just have one object. Okay, so yeah, I was looking into that, but one thing that I don't really like, it's kind of, they look nice, but I don't know, it's something about it that it's probably, I think they use Unreal, so it's probably just the lighting also, that it makes it look a little bit cartoonish, I guess. I can't put my finger on it. But I did see some good references as far as the rocks and stuff. So I guess I should look up some videos online. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so let's get to this. Yeah, the only videos that I've seen were like big references images, so not a lot of small areas and stuff like that. So the way I like to start this is, or the way I've done it so far, it's definitely eye candy. That's the thing. They do these nice renders. I like to see how it actually looks in game and not on, probably rendered on a PC, because that's probably what they did. So I don't know. So now let's go ahead and subdivide this a few times. And at first I like to do it not that many times. So let's do it about that many times. So it's like 1 by 1 subdivision, or per square. So first, before I start doing anything else, did I make a duplicate here? No, probably not. So let's make sure that we have a way to make the back side of it. So let's extrude this out on the y-axis and try to extrude it to a point, like right now. The good thing is that I kept it at 1, so I only need to extrude it at 1, and I know that this piece here is a cube, and I think that's a good point to start, and we can add another subdivision level. There we go, like that. And so the way I've done the other walls is I've kind of made it, Mark, actually a big influence to my caves is, if you played Wolfenstein, that's where I got most of my ideas as far as this ridged type setup. So right now I'm selecting a few pieces here, so let's see, maybe about that, and I'm gonna use the proportional editing and move it in the y-axis, so maybe a little bit like that. I'm trying not to move it on the corners, to not move it, like if I go like this size, I don't really want to do that. So maybe this would be good enough. And You can grab a couple of more here and do it on a lower kind of with a lower influence, kind of like that, you know, just to give the wall a little bit of variety. So there we go. What you can do is, of course, I like to do a straight section because then if I want to do a curved one, I can just curve this section out. So that's fairly easy to do with one of the deform modifiers. But once I get this in place, I think that should be good. And maybe, for example, I pick this up and move it out a little bit like this. So that bottom section is not that straight. I guess we can do that for the top one as well. Maybe like, always keep in mind what I like to do is for the what we're gonna end up doing actually is this part here is we're gonna try and do a mirror, so we create kind of a similar object on the other side. Okay, the other thing that I was doing for my caves was I was kind of bending this over like this. So let's pick this out and maybe pull it out. It's kind of gonna look a little funky, I think. But that might be good like that. Maybe do it with a small area as well. There we go. Kind of arching it like that a little bit. So it gives you a little bit of a dome type look. And so let's move a few of these back like that. So that's pretty good. Let's extrude this out and scale on the y-axis to 0 like that. This might be a little tricky to do the backside. Now that for my other example, I actually kept this so it doesn't bow out like this. But I thought it might give it a little bit more of a different look. So I'm debating whether to keep it like this or have it kind of a flat face. So I'm actually gonna keep it flat and then as far as this here. So let's try doing it like that because I'm gonna be able to bend it this way, but I'm not gonna be able to do the backside as easy. What do you mean, Mark? Is it different as far as how fast I can do this in Blender, or um, I don't really understand the question. I mean, sculpting is definitely nice to do, but it takes time to get good at it. So I'm kind of doing it the simpler way of just applying displacement modifiers. All right, so hopefully that answers your question. I'm not sure. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is actually unwrap this. So the way I do it is I just select these corners because I want the alpha that I'm going to use for the displacement to actually curl around this edges. So I don't think there's a difference. I mean, you're going to end up with pretty high polygon mesh either way. So I don't think there's a difference between them. I mean, the difference is that when you're sculpting, yeah, you need a little bit practice, talent. Sometimes it might take more time, I guess. With this one, it's pretty easy. I mean, I like it. I like it better this way because I think for me at least it's faster right now. So, all right. So, anyways, let's go to add a. Um, so the way I did it before is, or I'm doing it is, adding a subdivision surface, and kind of subdivide it a little bit, and then a displacement modifier. So the displacement modifier, yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Mark. Alright, so the displacement modifier is, you got to grab a texture, and I've downloaded some textures from textures.com, and kind of separated them into, different looks. And the ones that I've experimented with so far, and they seem to be looking pretty good for the cave walls, are these kind of sharp rock textures. They always, they have something like this, which is, kind of interesting brick-looking type thing, but I don't think it would fit the cave. These ones also cover quite a bit of space of texture, so whenever you use the UV, it's gonna look a little better. Alright, so now that we have opened the texture, let's go here and make sure the coordinates are UV. So you already see something happening there. The strength is a little big, so let's put this at about 0.1. And we might want to bump up the subdivision surface. So there we go. We already have something going on there. If we bump up the strength a little bit, maybe a 0.25, and we get some kind of cave walls happening. So let's select our sharp rock here, and let's see. Let's try and do another unwrap, because this is a different kind of weird size texture. So you can probably make it easier on yourself by making these, power of 2 type texture, but that's entirely again up to you. Alright, so there we go. We have something going on here. And as you can see, it kind of curls around the edges. This is, these corners is where we're going to have to do a little bit of sculpting, but very simple. It's like extremely simple. I can't even, emphasize how simple that the part of this is going to be. Okay, so maybe we want to bump this up a little bit, give it a little bit more depth. So there it is. Now, I mentioned that we want to create out of this block actually 2 sides. So let's do that. First of all, what I want to do is go into edit mode, and for these vertices, I want to create a vertex group. And always remember to assign these, because just creating it doesn't really assign those textures. Alright, so let's duplicate this, Shift D, Y, and do a Control M to flip it on the Y axis. There you go. Always remember Control N to make sure the vertices are back in place. And we create a second vertex group and assign these textures to it. And now we gotta move this in closer, GY. You can always, I guess, do it with the displacement with the mirror modifier, but I guess this is how I'm going to end up doing it this time. Alright, so move them in close, just like that. And one thing, so now what's going to happen, and I'll show you. So right now we have 2 that look identical. What we need to do is we need to assign a vertex group. So let's select group 1. And I'm wondering, did I assign it properly? I thought I did. Oh, so see, there you go. There's one of the issues that I've duplicated the vertices and created another vertex group, but then the original one had the ones that I've duplicated already. So let's go ahead and deselect that and make sure that I'm assigning this to group 1. So let's try this again. Let's see. This one is that, and this one is this. Oh, I guess it's not. So let's do it like this. Let's select group 1, and then from the original group we're going to remove those. So let's try this again. There we go. We got group, and group 1. So if we go back into our you know, object mode, you'll see that one of the groups has the displacement applied, the other one doesn't. So, but you'll notice the gap in between, so we want to try and take care of that. And one thing that I want to do is I can do a remove doubles, but you'll see that this one is kind of seeping in this way, so I don't really want to do that. So let's try adding some edge loops in here. Hopefully this is not gonna break too much. This is always also the place that we're gonna do a little bit of sculpting afterwards, so that we get rid of that kind of hard line there. Okay, so that's one side done. Let's do the other side. So we'll just add another displacement modifier and displace. So this is also going to be applied to the entire object, so we want to select the second group. There you go. It's kind of, you know, bubbled up because there's no texture in it. So we'll do a new texture. And, you know, we're going to want this to be UV. What you can do, right now it's going to just use the existing one. So what you can do, you can definitely use the existing one and just, you know, rotate the UVs around, or maybe give it you know, bigger strength. And now that I'm looking at it, I kind of like it with you know, bigger strength texture. Like this is a little bit too flat, so I think, you know, doing it you know, going a little big, you know, it's gonna require a little bit of fixing maybe, but I mean, this one gets some nice features from that rock. And you know, once we, you know, maybe crank up this to 6, we're gonna get some even more details in there. Okay, so let's actually load in another texture just to see how this other face can you know, can look like. Okay, so let's remove this and do a new texture. Oh no, I want to open a texture. And again, I'm just going to my I keep doing this. I'm gonna go to my downloads folder and look for, let's see, what would fit in well with that. Let's try using this one. It's also this sharp rock looking texture. So there you go. That's pretty darn sharp. Um, one thing to note is that by default, when you add this displacement modifier, you're not going to be able to see, or when you go into edit mode, you're not going to be able to see what happens. So, you know, make sure you check in to do that through this. It doesn't really, when I hover over it, doesn't really tell you. Oh, there you go. Display modifier in edit mode. So we got two faces that right now they look, I would say, different. So let's go in and make sure. Let's see how this face. Oh, so I guess I can just use my trusty useful thing here to select the group that I want to play around with the UVs. So now these UVs that we're looking at here, let's try and look at the other texture that we're actually using for this and see if we can move it around. And you know, I don't really like the way this ridge is here. You know, it's kind of it doesn't look bad, but I would say maybe it either needs to be vertical or horizontal. So first of all, let's turn down this to maybe 4. It's kind of running a little slow. So another reason that I like this, doing it like this, is Mark, and I think it's going to give you a little bit of a better speed, because if you think about it, from what I've seen in you know, different tutorials, as far as let's do a quick unwrap again here. So from what I've seen is a lot of people do it in steps, you know. So you add some details, you go in, you add more details, and then, you know, you subdivide things. Um, you know, this is a little bit kind of, at least the way I'm looking at it, maybe it's bad practice, but it kind of takes you all the way to the end. So probably that's one of the reasons that I like it, because you know, it helps me a little bit in, you know, being a little quicker. Okay, so there's another piece of wall there, and there we have it. So there's two sides of this, and they both look pretty decent. Aside from this edge here, which I don't really like, it's a little hard. So let's try and help it with that a little bit. See if we can do a bevel, and maybe it won't be as bad looking. So let's do Control B, and where do we want to go? We want to go this way. So I mean, it's helping a little bit. I mean, if I go kind of to that, whoa, I went a little bit too far. So let's bring these down a little bit. Alright, so that took care of those. Let's do it for this side as well. Maybe it's gonna, you know, make some kind of difference. Maybe. I guess it depends on your displacement texture, but we're gonna have to do a little bit of fixing here and there. Okay, so let's bring up these values. This is the part where it's gonna get a little bit computing intensive, I would say. So let's bring these up a little bit. And first of all, I'm just going to duplicate this and put it on a you know, backup layer. So what I like to do is whenever I move things around, I like to add a you know, a piece of text just to remind me that, you know, I'm on a what the stuff on this layer is about. So I'm just going to call this backup. You know what? I mean, to me, I think it works a little better. You know, there's other people that, you know, with more experience that, you know, are probably, you know, looking at this and like, look at what this idiot is doing. But, you know, for my needs, I think it's going to do okay. All right, so I'm probably going to bring down these strengths a little lower because they're a little bit too much. So let's do maybe a 0.8, and the other one looks okay. Alright, so it's starting to look pretty good. I'm at almost 1.4 million triangles. Let's see if I bump this up a little more, how high that's going to get me. Always remember to work on layers. So that definitely adds a little bit more detail. And I mean, it's 5 million polygons. It still works pretty good. Let's try and go with this. I have that backup in case this is really slowing down, and I'll remember to save. So let's save this. It's probably going to be a pretty big file because let's see. Where do I want to save this? Natural caves, cave wall. I guess that saved pretty quick. Maybe because the displacement are not applied yet. So let's apply the displacements because now we're going to go into doing a little bit of sculpting and a little bit of cleanup around some of these edges. So now we have our object. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the good thing that I actually like about these is that those displacement maps were actually made from a sculpt. So, you know, that work has already been done. So, um, yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, I'm definitely going to use this for rocks, and I've used this for rocks as well. So you'll see that there's like some issues around here. So let's jump into sculpt mode and do a little bit of fixing. And I like to use the smooth brush at first, and you might want to do that a little big. And so let's fix this, all this crap, sticking out, pointing out like that. It looks kind of bad. So it's gonna do a little bit of smoothing here. Hope it's not gonna take too long. And then we'll use the scrape brush also to get rid of these, or make sure that these edges are not that flat. And let me close that panel. So for most of it, it didn't really make it look too bad. There's some issues here and there, but overall, so also the reason that I'm using UVs is because I'm gonna end up we'll see actually what's gonna happen if we decimate the mesh um, in order to get our low poly, if those UVs are still gonna be in play. So I hope so, but I don't really know. We'll find out. So this is some more. I guess the top edge was the most upset about things. Well, so actually the wall is gonna be made out of this. So this piece is gonna create the wall and the ceiling also. At least in what I had that I was showing earlier, there was only one piece that was making up all of it. Yeah. So eventually, you gotta think about it, because you also want to have something on the other side, and you can always use you can always place this in a vis area, but what I'm gonna end up doing is create the interior, the inside of the cave, by using these, putting them together, and then into edit mode I'm gonna cut away the vertices that are not needed and just surround it with a box. So hopefully that makes sense. Alright, so let's go into scrape mode and scrape some of this excess out. And kind of switch back between, see, like right there, there was a thing behind it. I mean, these sides are not going to be that easy to spot, but it's good that if you do misplace something, so it doesn't look look so out of place, I guess. So I'm just going a little bit in perpendicular motions just to give a little bit of different kind of idea here and there. And let's turn off the symmetry look. I don't think it helped me too much. And see, there's this ridge right there, so let's smooth this one out. Um, This is one of the part that I hate about the displacement modifier, or using it the way I'm doing it right now, because you know, you might be getting into these, you know, overlapping things, and you gotta go in and do a little bit of, you know, clean up a little bit of stuff. But you know, that's the thing about organic stuff. You gotta be have a little patience, and you know, kind of just, you know, go with it and do it. Yeah, so see, whenever I start doing some things, you know, maybe, you know, there's some smoothing that still needs to happen. I haven't gotten down to the shortcuts as far as, you know, switching between these brushes. So, but hopefully if I do more practice. Yeah, that's true, Mark. And we'll try and do it right after I create this wall section. We'll try and do that and see what we come up with. Because we're pretty much done here with the high poly. So what I'll do after this is jump and create the floor, and see how that's going to turn out real quick. And then we'll do the bakings, and you know, bring it into the engine. You know, create the detail maps, and then bring that into the engine, I guess. So, oh yeah. So as you can see, you know, I'm you know, heavily relying on this scrape brush to you know, to cut away and scrape and smooth, to cut away some of this excess stuff. And also one thing that I want to show you is that I worked with a little bit earlier today is and actually I love how it works, uh, is using these alphas to actually sculpt. And again, that's dead simple. So let's keep on smoothing this line here. It's kind of awkward how it is. You might have noticed that I haven't gone into dynamic topology. So, and I've opted for, you know, going up a high polygon level. That's going to do is going to create a bunch of triangles, and I don't really like triangles. So for now, as long as I can get this section here done, I'm going to keep them at, I'm just going to leave it like this. It's just the bottom part, or outside part anyway. So um, I'm going to keep it um, as quads. So yeah, I mean, you do run into some of these issues here. See, this can be, I think this is like the most time-consuming part. So you can only imagine how much it's going to take you to actually sculpt this whole thing if you start from scratch. Um, so, you know, we're keeping up with the smooth scrape kind of motion. But I think we're pretty much there. I think that looks good enough for our purposes today. Let's see, maybe we can flatten this area out a little bit. There we go. You know, do a little bit of scraping. There. Okay, and there's kind of something here in that corner. Okay, so that's looking pretty decent for my needs. Maybe this part here I need to help it out a little bit. Just like that. There we go. And this corner here. Okay. So hopefully there won't be any big boo-boos that I'm gonna miss going in a little bit fast here. Um, I'm checking the corners a little bit because that's where I kind of got stick the last time. So there we go. Okay, so we got two different looking sides, and now we can actually let's. And for some reason, good for me, I was doing this on the backup. Yeah. Oh man, I love it when I'm not paying attention sometimes. But I guess we're gonna use this as a backup. So let's move this to maybe 6. So right now this is, I guess, whenever you touch something else, it's really upset with you. Alright, object mode. Let's move this to layer 1. And we'll go to layer 2 and start and try and make the floor. So the floor is going to be, actually, hopefully it's going to be a little easier. So let's move this to origin. So for this one, I might do it the same way, scale it up to maybe 3 times. So for this one, we'll do almost the exact same thing, where we have uh, 4 different areas of where we can try and apply 4 different textures. So let's try doing this and see what we come up with. So let's do this one. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So this one we'll assign that. So this one we'll assign this. This one we'll assign this one. And this one we'll assign that one. So let's see, just to make sure that we got everything selected properly. There we go. That looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm hoping the stream hasn't frozen up on you, because on my end sometimes it looks like it's not even working. So if you guys can confirm the stream is still going, that'd be awesome. Alright, so let's do some subdivisions. And for some reason, I don't know why that happened. That was kind of weird. Let's try and subdivide them like this. Okay, thank you, Mark. Wow, this is kind of interesting. Why would that was kind of weird. Why would it do it like that? But anyways, let's. I'm probably just gonna end up deleting these groups, and since now that I'm probably at the level that I'm just gonna use subdivision modifiers, I'm gonna create these 4 groups again. Select the first one, assign these to it. Select the second one, assign those to him. Then the next one is going to be this here, and assign, and assign. Alright, so to make sure that looks good. Oh, so just like before, the groups are going to be used in the displacement modifiers, because I just want to apply one display. I mean, I don't want to separate these, though you can. It's totally fine if you do that. And but I actually found it easier or not found it easier. I think it might be easier to do it like this. So, for example, I have these groups, and I have all these vertices assigned to each group, right? So if I go and add a modifier, let's start with our subdivision surface and then add a displacement. So now in the texture, I can go in and select one of my texture. So let's do select maybe. Also, one thing to remember is I forgot to unwrap. So let's just do a quick unwrap here. It is actually, well, kind of. Because right now I'm selecting a texture, right? So I'm going to grab one of these textures already existing here. Um, but right now you see the texture coordinates are local. We want to make that UVs. But for example, we only want to assign this one texture to one of these groups. So from the vertex group, I just select group 1. So that texture is only assigned to this group. And you know, once you play around with these levels a little bit, or kind of getting them in line with things, now I can go in and add a couple of 3 others displacement modifiers. So there's one, and so this one, let's use maybe another texture, or even though I think I use the same one. Yeah. So using groups, I think it might work out pretty easy to. So for example, because in the end, I want to create a piece of floor that's kind of rectangular, and I can rotate it around and mix it in with other sections. Um, so one thing that I was looking into, and these kind of look more like a rock wall, and not so much as the floor. So for that, what I ended up doing was I've created a couple of new textures, and for the ones that some of the other alphas that I've downloaded, those might fit the bill a little better. So for example, this one, because it's a kind of a rock bed scan also. This one also will work pretty good. So let's try this one. But you also have to make sure that the area you applied it to. So if we select this and we use the rock brush here, let's do a quick unwrap again, just so that it's let's do a project from view. What the heck? It's kind of interesting why that would do it like that, but I guess we can make it squarish. So there's that piece right there. So with this, one thing that we might run into is, and I was a little bit afraid of this, is that as you can see, these UVs only cover a certain area, right? The texture itself, you'll see it leaves some gaps here and there. So because of all that black space, and we want to be able to somehow take care of that space in between these. So for that is I'm just going to use the same plane and try to rotate it around itself. So let's see how that turns out. Alright, so we have 1, 2, let's do the other 2, and actually load in a few other textures. So let's see where we are at. I think the other one that I used was this one, which is kind of interesting too. And let's see, hopefully I didn't delete the other one. No, it's still there. Alright, so let's go into our displacement, and let's do this as text that kind of rocky looking texture, and then do the second one as the one that we just uploaded. And it's that right there. So that takes care of that space. Let's do the leftovers, these two ones that are left here. So also using the rectangle, you know, it makes it easier to gauge how you select and what you assign. So let's load another texture, texture 5, and for some reason it just removes the one that was there. I don't know why. Alright, so let's see, what else do we have here? I think I tried using this one, and this one was pretty cool. So let's use the Excel version. Alright. And I guess we need to add another displacement modifier, right? So this is going to be the last one we just added, and the vertex group, I believe it's 2, is it? Or is it 3? Always make sure you got the UVs on. Let's see, what was the vertex group that we want to... It's 2, okay. So let's select group 2. Make sure it's shown in edit mode. And we have another piece of displacement here, but this one's a little too strong, so let's do maybe a 0.2. Maybe we can go to 0.3. That's good. Okay, so those are that, and I'm noticing, what the hell, am I using the same one? I guess so. Let's change this back to the original. There we go. And now I think for the last one, so for this bit here, let's add a last displacement modifier. Where are you? There you go. So this one I'm going to use this one also, but I'm going to rotate it. Yeah, it could be. But I think it's applied because I've done the scale in edit mode. So yeah, everything is applied as far as scale. It's probably just the way I selected the texture. Alright, so there's the last one. I want to do UVs, and the vertex group is going to be vertex 3. And let's load that thing so we can properly look at it. Oh, it's not that one. Probably that one. And let's rotate this by 90 degrees. So just giving a little bit of a individual kind of look. Strength at 0.3, I think that might fit okay. Alright, so we got something happening here. But it still looks, you know, like there's all these gaps in between that, you know, it's kind of horrible. So let's see if we bump these values up a little bit so, you know, make it look a little better. So let's see if we duplicate this and move it around a little bit. How is this going to turn out to be? And for the, you know, for the duplicated sections, you can always just, you know, decrease the displacement, so make it look a little different, you know. So maybe place this somewhere like that, maybe. And for this one, I'm thinking the bottom, one of these will have to change. Let's see, let's bring these strings down a little bit, not a little too harsh. And maybe this one as well. And you can always, you know, do even more variety that I'm doing right now. That's not very, you know. Let's see. Maybe I want one of these to, maybe this one I want to make it a little stronger. Or, you know, for the purpose of this stream, maybe I'll just leave it like this. It's quite okay, you know, I guess for a cave floor, you know. It won't be too bad. Okay, so with that said, I believe we can go ahead and join these meshes. So that way we have one high poly. Actually, we'll see how this is turning out. Hopefully it will turn out okay. Let's see. So once we have these joined, the only thing I'm afraid of is if the UVs are going to get messed up or something. Nope, actually that turned out okay. So this is our high poly. Now we can go ahead and start working on our low polys. So let's add a plane, scale it by 3, there it is. So let's kind of position it somewhere around here. I think that might work there, I guess. Alright, and now let's see about what I'm going to try and do first is do the shrink wrap and see if it how it molds onto the low poly, or onto the high poly. So let's do another subdivision here, and let's add a shrink wrap to it. And what's this plane called? Plane 04. So with this one, let's add the target as plane 04. And let's see what can this do. It doesn't really like it too much that way. That is kind of a bummer, I guess. I'm so sad. But let's try this out. This is something, I guess, kind of new for me too. So right now, this is all one mesh. So what we can do is just go into edit mode and select everything that we want to bring out. So this is probably going to be good enough right there. Though this is one of the problems that I don't really like it, because it's right now they're overlapped, and um, I might just try using what I've been using recently is instant meshes to decimate some of these models. So I mean, you can always do that, or um, let's keep this as the high poly for our floor and duplicate it, move it um, to layer 3. Okay, move to 3. So on 3, let's see what happens if we bring these values down. So right now we're down to a pretty good, or not a pretty good number, it's still quite high, but now we're at 15,000. Let's see if we completely take that off. So that might actually work, though. You know, it's kind of like it might work, but So let's try the shrink wrap again. Scale 3 times. Let's subdivide this. And we're going to have to subdivide it a bunch of. This is going to be kind of a mid poly. Then we can take away some more of that from it. So let's see if we move this to 4, we can get a better idea. It's actually not that big. So let's try that shrink wrap again on this and see if it does a little better at molding onto that plane. So it's still not really doing as well as I was hoping it would, which is a little bit of a downer. I was hoping that it might. Maybe we just need to go a little higher with it. I'm trying to think what would be a better way to do this, because I'm not entirely happy with this result. Let me just separate this and go back to just the original. Because what I was thinking of actually doing is grabbing this, duplicating it. Oh man, I'm really killing this thing. The computer is about to, catch on fire or something. So I was thinking that if I rotate it around, it might help, but it actually won't do much. So this is a little bit of a letdown. The only thing that I can try is bump that uh, that the plane that I was doing the shrink wrap even higher and seeing if that works. Um, right now I'm hoping that this didn't just, I guess it didn't freeze just yet. So the other thing I haven't really considered is that maybe that shrink wrap does not really apply well when you have all these modifiers on the high poly. Um, that I didn't really think of. I don't know if that would be a cause of it, but let's see, where did I move the rest of those planes? It should be probably here. Alright, so let's grab this. Yeah, I mean that's definitely something to do, you know. But the reason that I'm thinking the problem, and this is something that I want to try. I want to, because pretty much this is what I've done here, but I want to apply the modifiers and then see if that shrink wrap, that plane, is gonna wrap around it a little better. So let's do that real quick. So I'm just gonna move this to 9. Alright, so for this thing here, let's apply all this stuff. And let's give this a shot. So right now the nice thing about this is that it should be only quads. So if we zoom in, you see these are only quads. So this is, I guess this is a good thing for starters, but let's look at where that plane was. It's this one here. I can't remember, is that still plane 4? It is. Alright, so let's try this shrink wrap. Plane 4. It's still about the same. Yeah, I hate that. But that's alright. Let's go back to here. So what I'll try and do is I'll export this and use instant meshes to decimate it. So let's go ahead and export this out. It's going to be cave floor. So let's see. This is actually it's probably going to help when we do the normal baking in Substance Painter. So hey FlowPX, you know, thank you so much. It's like I said, it's pretty much beginner stuff. So I'm not very good at organic modeling, and you know, I'm trying to, you know, use whatever techniques are available for somebody that doesn't. So it's um, you know, it's fun to do sculpting, but it's also time consuming. So I'm hoping that you know, this is gonna work. The walls are easy for some reason. I don't know why, because it's just one mesh. But the floor is something that I haven't done yet. And actually, this is pretty much today is like the first time I've tried doing the rock floor. So I'm hoping it's gonna turn out okay and not a wasted time for you guys. So while this thing is churning away, hopefully. Hey, finally! Alright, so let's go into instant meshes. There we go. This is a very useful piece of software. I really love it. It saves a bunch of time when it comes to retopologizing things, and it actually does a pretty darn good job at it. So where did I put that? It should be in natural, I think. Natural. There we go. Caves, and that's one of them. So let's go ahead and see to what point can we get this. You know, now that I'm thinking of it, we could have used that you know, that flat plane. Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, hopefully you found those useful, or you know, they were you were able to get something out of them. I definitely like. I mean, even if you look at ZBrush and all those softwares, you know, they use the regular brush, and a lot of people use, or maybe I guess they would use what do you call an alpha, because it's pretty helpful. You know, I mean, especially, you know, you just stamp it down and you get like that piece of rock that looks pretty nice. But what I was saying earlier was that I guess we could have used um, that flat plane, because this one, I mean, if you think about it, you know, this thing is pretty darn flat, you know. So um, what we're gonna end up doing is just baking things. So one thing that I'm probably gonna hate about this is, and I think I already know that I'm gonna hate it, um, is the fact that it's not one mesh. You know, so it's broken up, and you know, I definitely like the idea, but I'm kind of starting to hate it right now. So what I was thinking of, oh, what the hell just happened there? That was kind of interesting. Um, I guess this shrink wrap is kind of funky sometimes, the way it runs. So, you know, just moving things around can. So let me close out of this. I'll use this probably for the big wall. So yeah, see, check that out. It's like if I move it around a little bit, it actually gives a little bit of more of a what's on that layer kind of thing, you know? So there you go. That was kind of interesting. Just moving that around a little bit made it so much better. Okay, so now you know we get into the a little bit intensive type section, but at least we have this piece of ground placed a little better, and hoping, you know, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to, you know, whenever this turd of a computer catches up. I mean, you can tell that this is very, very. Yeah, ZBrush is quite expensive. I've heard very good things about it. Um, as far as speed, again, you know, it's probably a lot faster than Blender, but I'm thinking if you use alphas, um, it might just be about the same. So. But one thing to note about the shrink wrap is that, for example, if I grab some of these and I pull them down a little bit, it's going to help with my with the way things work. You know, not a lot, but you know, just enough. So okay, I think that's beating a dead horse a little bit too much when it comes to that. So let's unwrap this plane and let's make it smooth. So one thing that I want to try actually is, I guess this stream is, you know, a lot of things that I'm trying also. So what I want to try and do is actually bake a displacement. So we'll do it at 4K just so that we have a good looking displacement here. So now we have the high poly selected, we got the low poly selected. So let's go into bake and see how this displacement is gonna turn out. So it'd be pretty nice if, you know, and I guess that turned out pretty good, you know. I mean, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to use this displacement in the engine. So let's let this thing catch up for a little bit, and now I'm going to export this plane. And again, with this plane, you can also curve it, and we're going to try and do that also, just so that, you know, the floor cave is not just totally flat everywhere. Alright, so let's export this as the low poly, and so it's going to be the low poly cave floor. Export. So now we have the floor, we have the high poly floor, we got the low poly floor, or sort of low poly at this point. Let's go and do the walls, and that was somewhere in here. So this is the high poly wall, and let's export this out. It's going to take a little bit of time because it's a pretty big object. So walls, and the walls high poly. Yeah, so speaking about ZBrush, I've started looking into it, you know, trying it out, and while it's, you know, quite frustrating as far as navigating, it does have some things going for it. Um, it's I mean, it's definitely an industry standard, I guess, and it has to be that for some reason. But you know, I haven't, aside from it has a variety of sculpting brushes. I haven't seen a lot of, you know, upsides to it. Let's put it that way. Um, and you know, the community of people making sculpting brushes for ZBrush is very big. But if we'd had the same sculpting brushes in Blender, you know, who's to say that it wouldn't make a good sculpting program as well? So that's my opinion on it. And you know, Flo, like you were saying, it's you know, it's like 800 bucks. Um, and they do have that lower price version that is like 150, but stuff that you make in ZBrush you can't use in this lower end version, and the other way around. So you can't move things from one to the other. But I guess that's, you know, kind of a starter for, you know, trying to kind of get you in the door, and then you buy the more expensive version. So hopefully, come on, this is gonna export here sometime today. Yeah, you can see that that cave floor high poly was 314 megabytes, and yeah, that's pretty big. All right, so there's our high poly for this got exported. Um, so what we can look into is, let's see, where did I keep the backup for this? I had quite a few things in this document. Because I'm thinking maybe I can just use the same object and remove some of the modifiers. Oop, that wasn't it. Remove some of the modifiers. There you go. It's this one here. Um, to create the low poly. So the only thing is, and I'm kind of thinking I might need to do it in, right now the good thing about this is that it's a single mesh. So if I was to use instant meshes, it might work a lot better. So I'll try doing that, because I definitely like this piece of software, and the fact that it's free is what, you know, tickles me the most, let's put it that way. And like I said, I did it for some of the photogrammetry sculpts from Sketchfab, and it works it works beautifully. Alright, so let's do this one here. Let's open this. And that's the thing I like about it very much. You know, that it does the decimate, and you end up with quads also. In Blender, if you use decimate, you're not ending up with quads. You're ending up with a bunch of triangles, maybe some quads, but then doing the unwrap, it's going to be a little bit of a pain. So while this is processing, um, since for the purpose of keeping this stream hopefully in the 2 hours, um, I only did 2 sides, but you could have made 2 more sides and have that take up 1 texture space. So if you think about it, once you do your detail map, right now I'm only going to cover half of my texture space. So in here, if you look at all this, when I'm going to do the baking, these UVs, this is going to take 1 corner, this is going to take 1 corner. So you can imagine that if you had another one like this with different displacements applied, so giving even more variety, you can have the other 2 corners of the UVs, filled with the detail image. But right now, it's probably going to be a little bit wasteful. So let's go ahead and get the low poly exported. So there we go. We have our high polygon mesh here. Let's shoot for a target vertex count of maybe 4K. Let's try that. So there's a couple of buttons you need to click, not very complicated. Let's solve for the, and look at that. That's just beautiful as far as the topology goes. I mean, it can't get better than that. And of course, you get some of the details from the high poly because we wanted that. But you get a really nice, clean, mostly quad mesh. So let's export this out, and we want a pure quad mesh, and extract mesh. So there it is. This is how it's going to look like. It's probably a little bit high poly. And I guess we can bring this down even further. So let's bring it down to maybe 2.6. I can't really tell if you can. I don't think you can set this to. I want to make it at 2000. So it's probably just an algorithm that the program has. But one thing to keep in mind is you got to make sure that once you do this, you don't get any any things like overlapping, or because you're gonna have to fix those. So let's export the, and this is still solving, I guess. Alright, so let's export the mesh and extract mesh. Let's see how this looks. This looks quite a little bit lower poly. And let's just look at it real quick. Looking pretty good. So let's save this out. And this is going to be the cave walls, but it's going to be the low poly. So make sure you got a .obj. I think you need that. For some reason it doesn't export it so nicely. Okay, so jumping into Blender, let's import that mesh. And so I'm going to be on layer 4 since my labels are all completely off right now. So let's import that OBJ and make sure that the unwrap is looking good and the shading is correct, because I believe it turns it into a flat shaded object. So let's make that smooth. Oh, sorry, it doesn't do that. It actually creates a bunch of what do you call them? Sharp edges. So let's clear sharp, and there you go. We have it as that. And now we can, since this is the original quad, I'm going to be able to, easily select these and do the unwrap. So let's see, where was our, oh, it was right here. So that's one way to see where your faces were at. This one is no good. So you'll see there's some triangles here and there, but that's not gonna be a problem, I don't think. Let's see, what do we want to do about this thing here? I don't really like how that is looking like. Yeah, so this is one thing to be careful about, that sometimes you would, wrap um, your edges around, because, like I said, it sometimes, it creates triangles here and there depending on how the mesh got decimated in the program. So keep on going with these edges, and for some of these areas we're just gonna have to create our own. So there's that. We got the bottom one like so. Let's mark these as seams. Let's join these here also, like that. I don't really like where that one's going. So let's remove this, because I want to place it a little bit more on the corner, like here, or whatever you might perceive as the corner. But here's one thing that I did wrong. I actually should have just, because this is going to be flat, so it's going to wrap around pretty good. So yeah, Instant Meshes is really nice piece of software. And did I mention it's free? Hey, it's free. One thing that I did wrong here is that, and I'll show you why. I'm going to clear the seams, and the seam that I'm going to make is right down the middle. I'm going to try and make it like this. Because this is going to be an area that you're probably not going to be able to see anyways. So maybe down here I want to move this a little bit this way and kind of select it more from the center. Yikes. Let's see, I'm just going to try and mark these seams and then go this way a little bit and try and select that. There it is, that's better. Alright, actually these two I don't really need, these seams, clear seam. So let's grab those like that, make that a seam. So now we're doing the corners, just like that. There it is. Not that long, but now where is this corner here? Is it this one? Maybe let's try and keep going with this one here, all the way down to here. So there's that. Let's do the bottom one here as well. There's that. Because eventually what I'm trying to get out of this is just 2 UV islands. Alright, so let's see how this one unwraps. So there you go, there's our 2 UV islands. Right now this is a little bit too high poly, it's like 20,000 triangles. So I don't know why the other one was showing 2K, but it's definitely not 2K. So let's leave it like this for now. Though I don't like the fact that it's still a little bit too high poly, but kind of bummed out by the fact that this one I don't think was showing the proper amount of vertices, or I haven't used it, you know, as much as I would like to, but actually this looks a little better. So let's try bringing this one in as well and see how many polys this one has once it solves this process. Alright, so let's go ahead and extract this mesh also. That looks better. That looks better. So let's extract mesh. Oh, and I'm wondering if I overwrote the other one. So let's do V2. Save. Let's jump into Blender and import the next one. So import OBJ. So as you see, the size is probably a fifth of it. So that's more like it. So let's hide the 20,000 poly thing, and also remember to clear your sharps. And that looks a little better. So let's mark these seams, or try to mark them. And like before, I'm gonna try and go, down the middle with this as much as I can. It's kind of throwing me off a little bit, so I'm not entirely ecstatic about that, but we'll make it work. So as before, I'm going to try and keep it down the middle here. And also do the corners. So it's almost centered. Oh, come on, Marcy. Alright, so now the corners, let's see about that. There's one. I guess we can go out a little bit. Yeah, so one thing to look at is, especially sometimes like this would happen, that you get this thing just floating in the air. So, let's just bump it down to here, and maybe we can just scale all these to 0 and create also. So let's see, what else do we have left? We have this corner here. We need to do this one here. So mark that seam. Let's do this bottom one, which actually took all the way up there. So mark seam here, and thinking maybe this one will do around that. Okay, that looks okay. Alright, so let's try and unwrap this thing here, and don't see anything overlapping. I usually like to use the UV grid just to make sure that you know, this is looking okay. And so far so good. You see the seam around here, but hopefully you won't be able to notice it too easily. Alright, so now we have the low poly. Let's export this out. One thing that I want to make sure is that this one and the high poly have the exact same world space. You know, they're positioned in this exact same spot. So I believe it was 1. Was it 1? 1 and 4. Oh, come on. It looks like it. So let's export this low poly. I guess for this one I'm going to call it low poly for bake and export. Let's fire up Substance Painter now. So let's create a new project. Let's see, where do we want to go? We want to go to Natural, Caves, and let's start off with the walls for bake. There we go. We got this one. So there's our low-ish poly. Let's bake the textures. I'm just gonna do it at 2K for now. It's not that big. So that. So let's see. The normal is what we need for our detail is going to be normal and the ambient occlusion are the important ones.